Hello everyone, welcome to the week 3 summary. And this week, what probably stands out to you is that one, yes, thank goodness you're able to get your assessment number 1 in. Most people are able to do that, so thank you very much. And you know what I've read has been good and definitely very good starts to the year. A few people have asked, do I really have to choose the same topic for, number 2 and number 3? The ELAs don't actually go through and sort of check, oh, is this the same topic that you use in 1 and 2? So, if you still meet the criteria, that's probably not something that's going to be, evident to us. And that's not actually in the criteria, that you have chosen the same topic. However, the reason why it's there in the assessment instructions is because we feel that that'll help you actually have some depth and increase your knowledge, and rather than scooting around, a little bit of assessment on this, a little bit of assessment on that, and people can sometimes hover around similar grades or go up a grade, certainly if you actually listen to feedback and work on it. This just gives you the chance to really build, but ultimately it's not something we'll necessarily force. If you did something in this first assignment and you've gone, actually, I hated that, or that topic sucked, or maybe you just didn't really feel when you listened to your comments or whatever that you connected with the topic, then yeah, sure, if you want to change topics. But like I said, that's why I'm just putting out there, that's why the recommendation, the assessment instructions were set up that way. That said, there's a couple of things I want you to know. We don't actually design the assessment as UC or as ELA. So we don't do the design, and we don't choose any other technology, which brings me to VoiceThread. So hopefully you've seen the instructions now that you can click on 2 links. One link allows you to join VoiceThread, and the second link gets you into group 3. The first link will ask you for a username and password. If you've used VoiceThread before, you might have this. If not, then you create one. So then you'll be in group 3. You'll see a very silly mock demo that I've done, just so you're not looking at an empty page. But it helps you have something to play around with, more or less. And if you have a look at the assessment 2A instructions, and for that matter, I think it's on 2B as well, there's some very simple resources that you can look at as to how to use VoiceThread. It's not actually a Swinburne technology. It was put in there by the design team and chosen for its ease of use. It really is, once you're in there, it's quite as simple as uploading files and sort of pressing a bit of a microphone button to narrate a bit of a story. And if you're leaving comments on someone else's on there, there's also a comment button. So it really is quite intuitive. And I say that as a technophobe, or whatever you call them, Luddite, I can't remember. And so if I could get around it, then anyone can. So if you are having trouble, I would say 2 things first. Firstly, go back to the instructions. Make sure you're set up properly to start with. People have already tested out my setup links, so they should be working. And secondly, I would look at those VoiceThread resources that you have in your assessment 2A and 2B instructions. They're the same. So that gives you a really simple video on how to create a VoiceThread, etc. Have a look at them. Make sure you've done it all. If genuinely you have problems, and the one other time I ran this exercise, or I was ELA for a unit that was running it, I haven't had anyone that actually just couldn't get on or use it. It really is that straightforward. But if, for example, you don't have whatever you need on your computer to use it, perhaps you can talk to the IT team if it's a download, some kind of app issue. But like I said, I didn't really have any people with that. And those kind of IT troubleshooting things are definitely beyond my scope. You can also look at, there's a troubleshooting guide in VoiceThread itself. So you can actually search up a topic like uploading files or whatever you're having trouble with, the audio, whatever, and it'll come up with a list. So I remember one student needing to look at a troubleshooting file for something, and that fixed his problem. If really your system is incompatible for some bizarre reason, or then, and you can't use anything else, then perhaps talk and we will have to look at other options. But I don't think you'll find the other options will be easier than VoiceThread. So really give this a good go and, have a look at those resources. Now, in terms of this week's topic, particularly if you're going to be looking at middle power status, definitely have a look at the resources around it. It was very quiet this week. I think we had Luke definitely almost going solo. But anyway, well done. So one thing I want to draw your attention to about middle power is often it refers to, a power that isn't large enough, like the USA, for example. to be able to stand on its own, but also not small enough that we don't carry any weight. So a middle power is often defined by its diplomatic skills, the fact that it builds different alliances and balances between the two. And we're seeing a bit of that at the moment with how we're managing USA and China, for example, though it's definitely open for debate whether you want to call Australia a middle power, and that could even change, or sometimes it might even be an outmoded term. So the point is you need to look at the different, how people define it, and different people may even define it in different ways. What was really interesting in the learning materials this week in the video that we could look at was how it looked at the differences with how we might describe ourselves geographically as well. So while we might be a middle power, on the global stage in general, maybe, again, open for debate, we could be seen as a large power in our region in terms of how we play in the Pacific Islands. And, we are definitely by far the greatest aid donor in the Pacific Islands, though that might start to be rivaled by China now. And also a number of those countries are really heavily reliant on Australia. So, we probably are the power in the Pacific Islands, even as opposed to the United States. So perhaps we're a large power if you look at it geographically in that context. So depending on the issue you're looking at as well, you might want to adapt how you use that term middle power. So that's really all this week. I don't want to overload you. Please take a deep breath when it comes to the presentations and everything. You will find there's so much to get across in this unit early on, but then you actually get the chance to really relax a little bit before assessment number 3 and just enjoy making comments on each other's presentations and that part of it. So in a lot of ways, the hard work is already done early on. So anyway, I'm still on the Q&A in terms of any assessment threads. Definitely ask your peers, keep getting involved. I've got my email there if there's anything you want to privately run by me. And please just get on top of those A2 instructions and preparations. And yeah, well done. Bye, everybody.